Number 1, which frequency table correctly represents the data listed? That shit, man, you don't need to read that question. It basically goes, we got 4 of the 4s, and we got 3 of the 8s, and we got 2 of the 13s. So we got 4 of the 4s, 3 of the 8s, and 2 of the 13s. 4, 3, 2, answer choice A makes it perfect. Number 2, which expression is equivalent to that shit? Okay, first of all, if you can't factor that shit, I mean, that's a big problem, bro. Like, your algebra sucks, nutsack. Now, you should be able to factor this no problem. It's just gonna be x plus 8 and x minus 5, so that should be answer choice B. Here's the thing, sometimes we just blank out, right? Remember, you get to use this stupid ass Desmos. So this is what we gonna do. We gonna go on our Desmos. We gonna punch it in, x squared plus 3x minus 40. And then we got the answer choices. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and check my answer choice B just to make sure it's the same graph, right? So what do we have? We have x plus 8 and x minus 5. And boom shaka, you notice this is exactly the same graph that just overlaps on top of each other. That has to mean the two expressions are equal. Number 3, Jay walks at a speed of 3 miles per hour. Stop it right there, man. Walk 3 miles per hour. So something to do with the W and something to do with the 3 right there. It runs at a speed of 5 miles per hour. Right there, stop it again. R and then 5. So they gotta go together, man. I need the 3 with the W and I need the 5 with the R. What do we have? We got this one and this one. Let's B and C. Okay, between A and D, what is it next? He walks for W hours or whatever bullshit. Combined total of 14 miles, man. So sum's gotta equal 14, dog. And that's only this guy. That shit, it's A. Number 4, in triangle ABC. Stop it right there, man. Draw yourself a triangle.
Oh, what if that's not the accurate triangle?
Who cares, man? Angle B is 52 right there, so 52 degrees. And angle C is 17 degrees right there, 17 degrees right there. What's that gonna be? I don't know. What is the measure of angle A? That's exactly what the question was asking for. Remember, triangle adds up to what? 180 degrees. So what do? Just 180 degrees minus 52 degrees minus 17 degrees. You do that shit in your calculator and you get 111 degrees. Number 5. So normally I wouldn't read the damn question, but this time around I see a graph without any labels on it. I don't know what the the Y is supposed to represent. I don't know what the X is supposed to represent. I don't know jack shit, which is why I'm gonna go ahead and pay attention to whatever they have to say, right? So the graph represents the total charge in dollars by an electrician for X hours of work. Stop it right there. Okay, so one of the variables has to be dollars. The other variable has to be hours, right? Which one goes where? We'll see. The electrician charges a one-time fee. One-time fee right there. Remember, what is that fixed number in a linear equation? Exactly. We call it the y-intercept. Once again, that fixed number, aka where x is equal to 0, that is what's called a y-intercept. So that one-time fee is probably the y-intercept, and I just said the word y, so the y label has to be the dollars right there, and the x-axis is probably gonna be the hours now. So what is it asking? What is the best interpretation of the slope? What the f is a slope? Slope is rise over run, which in this case, in terms of the variables that I just came up with, I got dollars per hours. If you say that in English language, that basically means how much does he charge per given hour, right? So what do we call that? Fucking hourly rate right there. They already told you, broskies. His answer choice A. Number 6, the table summarizes distribution. That shit, bro. We don't need that. If one of these tiles is selected at random, stop it right there, man. So we can pick from just about anything. The very grand total. The very grand total, 100. So out of 100, what is the probability of selecting a red tile? What is red? Right here in this column right there, the total red is going to be 30. So 30 out of 100, you can mark that as 3/10 or 0.3. Who cares? I personally like fractions because I figure every time I try to convert it into decimals, I f around a lot. So, I mean, it's up to you, but I normally would recommend writing it in fractions. Number 7, from a population of 50,000 people, 1,000 were chosen at random and surveyed about a proposed piece of legend. Bullshit, I don't care, man. So we got 50,000 people right here, and then we're gonna pick 1,000 to do some random survey. Based on the survey, it is estimated that 35% of people in the population support legislation with an associated margin of 3%. I want y'all to understand what this this margin of error is. Margin of error can literally mean it could be off by this much. Like, that's the room for an error. Now, please keep in mind, they never said 3% higher or 3% lower. They said margin of error of 3%. What that means is it could be 3% less than what is predicted, or it could be 3% more than what is expected. So we got 35%, margin of error 3%. That could mean it could be down to 32%, aka take away 3% from the 35%, or it could be up to 38%, aka 3% on top of that 35%, right? So it could be anything in between, and that's gonna be the range that we're gonna be working with. So with this said, what is the question asking for? Based on these results, which of the following is a plausible value for the total number of people in the population who support the proposed legislation? So be careful, man. These college were douchebags might sometimes ask you, what is the number who don't support the legislation? Then you would do 100% minus that shit, right? But anyway, so we are working with these two. So what am I gonna do? First thing first, pay attention to the word total number of people in the population. So we ain't using this 1,000. We're using this 50,000 because that is the very grand total number that we're looking at right now, right? So what are we gonna do? Take that 50,000 and take 32% of it and 38% of it. How? Multiply by 0.32 and multiply by 0.38, right? So obviously I'm gonna go ahead and use my calculator. Can't do that in my head, right? So that's gonna be 16,000 people, and you do 0.38 times 50,000, and that gives me 19,000 people. So anything in between would work, and what fits? Only choice C works. Number 8, what is a positive solution to the given equation? Now, all of y'all algebra smarty pants, y'all probably gonna do what?
Multiply by x plus 6 on both sides. So boom, boom. Yeah, 55 is equal to x squared plus 6x. Move it over to one side, set it equal to 0. Subtract 55 on both sides, and you get x squared plus 6x minus 55 is equal to 0. Effective, boom, 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 boom. And we got x plus 11, x minus 5. So x is equal to negative 11, x is equal to 5. They asking for the positive solution, so it's gotta be this guy, the 5, it is. Boom.
Good for you, broskies, but remember, this is SAT, right? They allow you to use the damn calculator or Desmos, whatever the you want, right? In this case, all this, man. I ain't gonna do this. If I'm taking this on the day of the test, I'm just going straight to Desmos, yeah? So let's go to Desmos and be like 55 divided by x plus 6, and that shit is equal to x. Now, you notice it's kind of hard to read, right? The numbers wise, and it wouldn't let me click, right? Like, I can't really see the numbers. If y'all were to kind of estimate it, you can just go ahead and like zoom in like this, and I can see that the x is 5 and negative 11 by looking at it this way. If y'all see that green line right here, yeah, I could see that it's 5 and negative 11, but like it wouldn't let me click, right? And sometimes this happens. So here's my tip for you. So whenever this happens, like you can't really click and it wouldn't actually give you the value like physically like so you can see it. What you can do is split the two expressions into two different lines and look for the point of intersection. What I'm trying to say right here is instead of that, I'm gonna go ahead and take away the equal to x part, and then I'm just gonna put the x on the bottom. And if y'all see it right now, I got two different graphs right there with the point of intersection over here and over here. And you can see that the x values that we're looking at right here is negative 11 and 5. Exactly the values that I was looking at before as well. Except this way, it's a lot easier to see, and it actually lets you click and see the x values yourself. So if you feel like that this is a better way to go about, then go ahead and use this method. Number 9, an airplane descends from an altitude of 9,500 feet to 5,000 feet. So basically the airplane is coming down, right? We start at 9,500, so 9,500 right there, and then boom, down to 5,000. That's what's happening. At a constant rate of 400 per minute. Stop it right there. The moment you hear the word constant rate on the SAT, just think it's linear, not exponential. Remember, peeps, constant rate means every time you come down by the same amount, and that's literally why it's a linear graph, because in a linear graph, the slope is constant. The rise over run is always a fixed number, right? Just like the other problem that we looked at today, the whole electrician charging the payment bullshit. He gonna charge the same amount for each hour, whether it's like $50 or $60, he gonna charge the same amount for every hour. He not gonna be like,
oh, yo, first hour, it's $50, but second hour, hard as hell, so this time around I'm gonna charge you 80.
It ain't like that. He gonna charge you 50 every time. So same thing right here. When they say constant rate, we're talking about coming down 400 feet per minute. Every minute is a given fixed 400 feet. That has to be linear, broskies. So get that shit out of the way. And they just said it comes down from 9,500 to 5,000. Don't read the rest of the question. It's gonna be decreasing linear, and that's it. Number 10, if the given function g is graphing the xy plane where y is equal to g of x, what is a y-intercept? Okay, so y'all algebra smarty pants will be like, yo man,
Y-intercept, man, that's why x is equal to 0. So plug that shit in right there. So g of 0 is equal to 11 times 1 over 12 to the power of 0. And anything to the power of 0 is 1, so 11 times 1, and that's just 11. And that's the y value,
so right there, hey, good for you. And once again, you should really be able to do that shit, man. This SAT, I know the SAT got much easier, whatever bullshit, but that's still pretty basic. But let's just say the basics didn't recall on the day of the test because you got so nervous and you just blacked out. What do? Go to Desmos, right? So let's go. Here we go again on Desmos, right? I'm gonna go g of x is equal to 11. By the way, you don't have to punch in the g of x shit, but anyway, 11 times 1 over 12 to the power of x. Whatever the that graph is, they were looking for the y-intercept. It's right there nicely. 0, 11, and that's gonna be your answer. 0, 11, and that's gonna be your answer. Number 11, figure not drawn to scale. Now, peeps, every time the SAT throws you that word, figure not drawn to scale, that basically just means don't trust what you're looking at. They might give you like a triangle that looks like this, and they'll be like, yo man, this is like 89 degrees. Well, hell, that doesn't look like 89 degrees, right? It looks more like a 50 degrees. But that's what they mean, right? Do not trust what you see. Right? So back to the problem. The circle shown has a center O, circumference 144 pi right there. Let me just kind of box that shit. And the diameters PR and QS, the two lines that I see are the diameters, right? The length of arc PS, stop it right there, man. That PS right here, that shit is twice the length of PQ. Stop it right there. So that shit. So I'm just gonna call this X. I'm gonna call that 2x. So what is the length of the arc QR? So if you look at QR, broskies, QR is basically this one, the 2x portion, right? So I just need to know what the the x is, and that's it. What did they just say? The whole circumference is 144 pi. What the is a circumference? Circumference is length around the whole circle, right? AKA the perimeter of the circle. That's what we call the circumference, right? So look, that should be another x right there. So look at that. You got 2x, x, 2x, x. So total of 6x right there. And that is what should equal the whole entire circumference, 144 pi. Yeah, broskies? So now go ahead and divide by 6 on both sides. X is equal to 24 pi. So 2x should equal to 48 pi. Is what the noobs would do. You know what? We already knew that we were looking for QR, which is 2x. We already knew that. So broskies, I understand that we all got into a habit of just straight diving into solving for what x is. No. Go ahead and divide by 3 on both sides, man. And just make it 2x immediately so you don't have to take that extra step of finding the x and then multiply it back to 2 again. So you don't need to do that, right? If you just straight up divide the 144 by 3, you're gonna get 48 pi straight up, and that will give you b immediately, right? I know it's small things, but it's these small little tips that add up and that boost your confidence and therefore freaking, reduce your time that you work on for these problems, right? Number 12, a rectangle has a length of x units and a width of x minus 15. Stop it right there, man. Let me just kind of mark that shit. X right here, x minus 15. Okay, cool. If the rectangle has an area of 76 square units, stop it. So how do we find the area? Base times height, right? So area is equal to x times x minus 15. And apparently that shit is equal to 76. And boom, just like the other problem we looked at today, you could do this algebraically, but you know what? At this point, let's just this and go straight to Desmos. We all know how to factor this, but on the day of the test,
am I really gonna factor or not?
Probably not, right? I mean, if I have Desmos, why would I do it in hands, right? So let's go to Desmos again. So we got x times x minus 15. And that's equal to 76. Once again, I see the two values right there, negative 4 and 19. We're talking about the value of x, which basically represents the length, aka it's probably going to be the positive one, which is the 19 instead of the negative 4, right? So the answer is going to be B. Number 13, Rosa opened a savings account. That shit, bro. There's a table and we're not stupid. We know how to rate the table. Don't rate that shit. Here we go. We start reading from right here. If Rosa made no addition to deposit or withdrawals, which of the following equation best represents a relationship between T and N? So first thing first, Obviously, this is an exponential function, so we're gonna go ahead and multiply by something every time. Looking at all the answer choices, they all kind of look like that. And now, one of the easiest ways to do this problem is, we'll take a look at the very y-intercept, aka the starting point, right? We start with $604, and then on top of that, we gonna gain certain amount of percentages every time. So we start with 604, and that's when t is equal to 0, aka no time has passed just yet. And on top of that 604, we're gonna multiply by something, and then the same shit again, and then the same shit again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again. So it's gonna look like what? 604 times something to the power of something. And you know what? Literally only answer choice C looks like that, so that could have been like 3 seconds if you know what you were looking for. Now, even if you didn't see that, it's totally cool. What could you do? Go ahead and just grab one of these numbers and just plug it into the damn equation that you see in the choices A, B, C, D. Plug it in one at a time and see if you actually do get the value indeed. What I'm trying to say is, for example, imagine I grabbed this 2 and 608.84. What I'm trying to say is, I grabbed the choice C that apparently I know is the right answer, then apparently it's gonna be 604 times 1 plus 0.004 to the power of 2, the time, should equal that 608.84. And if this answer choice C really happens to be correct, then that better be valid when I punch it into my calculator. And you can literally check one choice at a time until you land the right answer. Now, one thing that I really want to recommend everybody to do, especially when you use this kind of a method, is to make sure all the other choices don't work for the numbers that you're plugging in. Because sometimes they might have two different choices that both give you the same value as it should in the table, right? So in that case, you want to plug in another set of numbers. Not in this case, but hypothetically speaking, if you were to plug in the 2 and 608.84 and you got two different choices that both work for that number, that set of numbers, then you want to go ahead and try plugging maybe that 1 and 606.42, or maybe even that 0 and 604, in order to make sure which one is the answer. Number 14, at how many points do the graphs of the equations y is equal to x plus 20 and y is equal to 8x intersect in the xy plane? Now, if y'all pretty good with algebra, I mean, man, shit, you don't even have to be good, man. This shit's easy as hell. I mean, just think about it, man. So we got y is equal to x plus 20. You start at right there, 20, and the slope is 1 right there. And we got y is equal to 8x. The y-intercept is at 0, so starts right there, and then it's gonna be a pretty steep graph, like boom, boom, right there. They only go intersect one. It's lines, bro. It's not like a crooked lines or anything, so it is impossible for them to have more than one point of intersection, right? Well, sometimes they might not have any point of intersection if they happen to be what? Parallel with the same slope, right? But in this case, the slopes are different. They gonna meet at some point. Where is it? That's none of my business. You know what I'm saying? Because I just know that the whole idea of how many times do they intersect, they only do it once. Now, if you really wanted to see that on Desmos, I mean, shit, you can go ahead and do that. We got x plus 20 right there, and we got 8x right there. Just like I said, man, and they gonna intersect at one point over there. Yeah, right there. Whatever values. I don't really give a shit because that's not what we're looking for. We just want the actual number of intersections. It's gotta be once. Number 15. At a school fair, the students that shit, bro. Don't read that. 1 student won G green tokens, so that's probably right there, the 5G. And then all red tokens worth a total of 380 points. So 45 all right there, and then I see the 380 being played right here. Okay, so what? The given equation represents a situation. So how many more points is a red token? Stop it. So there's a red token worth than a green token. So versus 1 green token. Well, so how many points is each of these freaking tokens? Is the main problem, right? Well, take a look, broskies. That 380, that number represents the unit points. So if anything, this should also be points. This should also be points. So points plus points is equal to the total grand total points, right? So that's the idea. So take a look. G is the number of green tokens and R is the number of red tokens. So what the do you think that 5 in front of G and the 45 in front of R represent? They probably represent the number of points for each token, right? AKA, 1 green token should be worth 5 points and 1 red token should be worth 45 points. And the question is asking how many more points is a red token than a green token? 45 versus 5. The difference is 40 points right there. Easy as hell, man. Number 16, the number of bacteria in a liquid medium doubles every day. Stop it right there. So we start with something and we gonna do times 2, times 2, times 2, on and on and on and on and on and on. You know what? Stop it right there, man. We can already get rid of some choices that clearly don't look like this shit. You know what it is? We're dumb, bro. Man, I'm not even done reading the damn question. Well, you know what? Apparently I am, right? Because that was enough. You want to make sure to like actually see if I was actually right? Let's take a look, right? There are 44,000 bacteria in the medium at the start of the observation. So that box, the missing box, is 44,000. And that's what it should look like. So if I were to generalize this, that's going to be 44,000 times 2 to the power of x, which exactly resembles that answer choice D right there. So this is what I'm trying to say right here, man. You should only read the stuff that you should read. And every time they give you a piece of information like that, in this case, like the whole doubling every time thing, write that shit down, broskies, because I swear, this question, you were technically done after reading that doubles every day part. The rest is garbage. You didn't even have to read that shit.